The news that bail was denied, Combs looked back at his three sons who were sitting about 3 rows behind him and patted his chest. When I asked his attorney what Combs said to him after that news, he said, quote, "I'll see you tomorrow." Why? Because they will be back in court tomorrow to fight that bail denial. This afternoon, though, Combs walked into court wearing a black T-shirt and gray sweatpants. He kept his focus mainly on the judge and at times looked at his attorney when he was speaking. The 54-year-old hip-hop mogul was charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and interstate transportation for prostitution following a months-long Homeland Security investigation. Prosecutors allege that Combs used his business empire to force women to engage in sexual acts with professional sex workers at events he called freak-offs.
Coming into the courtroom, the disgraced music mogul, Diddy looked a little rough around the edges compared to how he usually has been looking.
The shocking claim of a man in an orange prison jumpsuit collapsing inside a courtroom immediately captured attention online. However, while that viral footage was later exposed as misleading, the real drama surrounding Diddy's legal troubles continues to unfold. Today, as Cassie, formerly known as Cassie Ventura, steps forward with new evidence and allegations, the layers of Diddy's personal and legal downfall appear to be growing even more complicated. Many people are now asking what is truly happening behind prison walls and courtroom doors, and whether these explosive accusations could permanently damage the legacy Diddy spent decades building.
Talked a lot about someone who could be a major witness at a trial, someone who is most likely cooperating with the government, someone whose allegations against Combs, I think it would be fair to say, make up a huge part of the current indictment. I'm talking about Cassie Ventura, Cassie, Combs' ex-girlfriend. And remember, she sued him back in November of 2023 for sexual assault, battery, sex trafficking. This was among other claims. And that case ultimately started the ball rolling with more lawsuits filed against Combs and ultimately culminated with these criminal charges. In fact, there is an argument to be made that in Sean Combs' indictment for racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, she's allegedly victim one, who was allegedly sex trafficked by force, fraud, or coercion. There is an argument to be made that that is her. Actually, one of her main accusations that we're going to go into is specifically described in this indictment. Again, it seems to me that her claims are what make up the majority of this indictment. Then the suit says, quote, "The truth, however, is that Cassie, Miss Cassie Ventura, was held down by Mr. Combs and endured over a decade of his violent behavior and disturbed demands. For Miss Ventura, the dark times were those she spent trapped by Mr. Combs in a cycle of abuse, violence."
To begin with, reports claiming that Diddy has already been sentenced to life in prison are false. No judge has delivered such a verdict, and no courtroom footage confirms anything like that. What is actually happening is that Diddy remains detained inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center while facing serious allegations involving coercion, abuse, and misconduct reportedly spanning several years. 3. The viral video series, first uploaded by a TikTok user on November 11th, quickly gained more than 400,000 views. The clips included dramatic images showing a man in a wheelchair, a sudden collapse, and scenes designed to suggest total defeat. But behind the online sensationalism lies a much darker reality, a once powerful music executive now struggling under the weight of mounting accusations and public scrutiny tied to his alleged actions.
Collapsed in court because he heard his sentence.
I didn't see that video.
So there was a huge article and it pretty much said Diddy heard his sentence and collapsed.
Okay.
Because he was in shock. This is a picture of him collapse. That's not Diddy, bro. That's not Diddy, man. That does not look like bro. That does not look like him.
But did you see his mugshot? It didn't look like him.
That didn't look like him either.
That's what I'm saying. He was way thinner.
It was weirdly shaped.
It was weirdly shaped.
You know what he looked like? You know the alien from American Dad?
It's the gray one, right?
Yeah, a little bit, right? A little bit?
Yeah.
I think his name's Roger. He puts disguises and shit on. That's definitely him, bro.
Like his head was weirdly shaped though.
Reports claim that during the Christmas holiday season, Diddy suffered what many described as a serious emotional breakdown while behind bars. According to one source, the music producer's physical appearance had noticeably changed, with more gray hair, visible weight loss, and signs of exhaustion. Sources allege that Diddy begged prison guards to take him to a hospital for observation because he was experiencing panic attacks and severe emotional distress. However, his request was reportedly denied, leaving him alone to deal with what some described as a nightmare holiday season inside.
Didn't bite on that, and Diddy's bail was denied for the third time. According to a report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it.
Saying the hardest part for El Diddums is the food. And
food.
The food, not the lack of roofies or booze, but the food. He, like his first night of jail was Swedish meatballs. And then they have stuff that sounds good, but the old Metropolitan Detention Center has got to make it vomit-inducing. Things like tacos or fish. Nobody wants fish in jail or on an airplane or in a microwave. It's just, I'm sure he's probably losing a few pounds. And that's his complaint about prison.
Even though Diddy's high-profile legal team promised that he would quickly secure bail, the fact that he remains incarcerated has only intensified public attention surrounding the case. Reports also claim that a court order required the destruction of notes found inside Diddy's jail cell, a highly controversial development that has fueled even more speculation regarding the unusual circumstances surrounding his detention.
Judge overseeing Sean Combs' criminal case out in New York, this federal case, has just decided whether or not Combs' rights were violated when there was a sweep by federal authorities at the detention center where Combs is currently being housed. Big issue that we've been focusing on, right? Why? Because the ramifications could be huge. If prosecutors, generally speaking, if prosecutors engaged in a form of misconduct that violates a defendant's rights, they might have to be recused from the case. The evidence could be excluded from trial. Maybe if something is really egregious or bad, the case gets dismissed. So I want to go through this order from Judge Arun Subramanian of the Southern District of New York. It's really fascinating. So again, Combs is facing federal racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges with a trial scheduled for May. Now, this is how the order begins. In connection with the Bureau of Prisons' October 28, 2024 to November 1st, 2024 sweep of the Metropolitan Detention Center, the MDC, a BOP investigator, Investigator 1, photographed 19 pages of Combs' notes and sent them to the government's filter team. The filter team consists of AUSAs, these are Assistant United States Attorneys, who aren't involved in the investigation or prosecution of this case. The filter team redacted the notes and sent them to the case team. The case team consists of the agents and AUSAs investigating and prosecuting Combs. So let me start there. So yes, there was a raid at the MDC.
The situation became even more serious with the emergence of Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy. In a dramatic turn of events, the attention shifted away from online rumors and courtroom spectacle toward deeply personal accusations. Cassie, who was once romantically involved with Diddy, came forward with claims that shocked both fans and the music industry.
She said from that point forward, she was terrified, isolated, and unable to see a pathway out of Mr. Combs' abusive hold on her life. She found herself numb to the abuse that she was experiencing. She began to blindly follow his instructions out of fear of, again, being on the receiving end of a vicious beating.
Ventura described in her suit being forced to pour oil on herself during the freak-offs and being given drugs to keep her engaged in these events, which were also called FOs. Ventura also described several instances of being beaten by Combs. In September of 2018, after dating Combs for a decade, Ventura described Combs raping her after she met him for dinner. She said she actually believed they were meeting to discuss ending their relationship, but then she said he forced his way into her home. Her suit said, Mr. Combs forced himself into her apartment and tried to kiss Ms. Ventura. She told him to stop and attempted to push him away. Mr. Combs then forcibly pulled off Ms. Ventura's clothing and unbuckled his belt. Then Ventura claimed Combs raped her and their relationship ended for good. Last November, she released this statement after filing her civil suit. After years in silence and darkness, I am finally ready to tell my story and to speak up on behalf of myself and for the benefit of other women who face violence and abuse in their relationships. With the expiration of New York's Adult Survivors Act fast approaching, it became clear that this was an opportunity to speak up about the trauma I have experienced and that I will be recovering from for the rest of.
According to documents filed in federal court in Manhattan, Cassie alleges that shortly after meeting Diddy in 2005, when she was only 19 years old, he began establishing a pattern of manipulation, control, and abuse over her life. The lawsuit claims that Diddy controlled both her career and personal relationships while also subjecting her to
surveillance video obtained by CNN appears to show the music mogul assaulting his then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura at a hotel in 2016. In the video, Combs can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave. I have the video right in front of me. We can't show it to you. But I'm watching this with the sound off as we speak. She's walking down the hallway in a hoodie, y'all, clearly trying to sneak out of the hotel room. We see him come sprinting down the hallway in just a towel. That's it. He goes up to her. He snatches her by the neck, yanks her to the ground. She lays there still. Okay? I'm looking at the video while I'm talking to you. He snatches her by the neck, unless this is some lookalike, unless it's some clone, unless this is somebody that's like from Mission Impossible, like Tom Cruise, wearing somebody else's face, looking exactly like them when it ain't them at all. Unless there's something along those lines. This is what we're looking at here. And you see the stills right there in the screen, and I get that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm watching this as we speak. And I've seen this video now because I want to make sure I know what I'm looking at. This is about the 10th time that I looked at it. He runs down, he snatches her by the neck, he yanks her to the ground, she lays still, then he launches a kick towards her like he's kicking a damn field goal, picks up the vase or whatever she had with her, kicks her again, hits her, she lays still, and then after that, he grabs her and drags her down the hallway.
Like if he had some ability to go, here's where this came from as far as the childhood I grew up in, the impact of that environment. If he had some ability to go like, here's how this happened and why I am ashamed that it has shown up in my life, then I would think there was some level of sincerity or at least interest in growing. But it wasn't that. It also lacked any reference to steps he has taken to improve his behavior, right? You can imagine you viciously abuse someone, you feel ashamed of yourself, as he says, you go to drug and alcohol treatment, you go to therapeutic treatment. You can imagine you would then go, I'm going to change my behavior, and here are the things I'm going to do. Maybe you would go to meetings every day. You would change your social circle. You would change how you handle your leisure time. You would start going to church more. There are things that you would do. You would get yourself out of high stress environments. You would change your professional life. You would make big changes in your life to respond to this horrific behavior. But he doesn't mention any of that because he didn't do it. Because he just simply didn't do it.
One of the most disturbing allegations in the lawsuit involves an incident from 2016. Cassie claims that Diddy followed her into a hotel hallway and physically assaulted her. Video footage later released by CNN appeared to support parts of her account and gave the public a disturbing look into the chaos behind the celebrity.
The government has no business going into the private affairs of what happens in someone's bedroom. That these acts were entirely consensual. That, these witnesses, really a lot of them wanted to be in P. Diddy's circle of celebrity. They, what you have here are some of these people that have sued him, engaged in nothing more than a money grab. And now, these people are going to come in and testify. Their bias, their credibility has essentially been undermined because of their ulterior motives. And that really, it's going to hinge on that what occurred here was nothing more than consensual conduct between adults.
Okay, now play prosecutor. These are some of the best prosecutors you were saying. What are they going to argue?
I'm going to march every one of these witnesses into courtroom, and I'm going to have them tell the horrific story of what went on when they were in the rooms there. And I'm going to put them in front of the jury, and the jury's going to hear these stories. And I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a very, very difficult case. I'll tell you, this is a case that will not settle via plea agreement. It's going to go to trial. And it's, we're all, it's not going to be televised, but we're going to hear about it, day by day in the news and the media. Really sensational facts.
The contrast between the online rumors and the actual legal situation has become increasingly disturbing. On one side, there are exaggerated viral videos meant to shock viewers with fake collapse scenes and dramatic imagery. On the other side is the harsh reality of a man facing enormous legal pressure while his alleged past actions are being publicly exposed. Reports of Diddy's emotional breakdown during the holidays, his deteriorating physical appearance, and the growing amount of evidence connected to Cassie's allegations have all combined to create the image of a once powerful figure now overwhelmed by the consequences of his past.
Development around Diddy as we're following this case very closely here on Live Now from Fox as Diddy's lawyers say the feds raided his jail cell and seized a bunch of privileged material. So an interesting one to say the least about this. I want to put up some posts here from former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani about this, saying Diddy's lawyers are claiming that it violates his Fourth Amendment right. However, inmates don't have Fourth Amendment expectation of privacy in prison, so that argument is weak. Guards can search his cell without probable cause or a warrant. So a big development there in terms of this. Privileged material, different. The feds usually have a taint or dirty team of agents who aren't working on the case to conduct these searches. That way, if they see privileged materials, the clean team won't be disqualified from the case. It goes on to say as well, the prosecutors have reason to believe Diddy is obstructing justice from the prison by contacting witnesses through intermediaries. They made the same argument during his bail hearing. I think they have evidence to back it up.
Well, apparently, according to the defense, their legal documents, the government's saying no. On the contrary, they're just some handwritten notes and a calendar. And what the judge did, Judge Subramanian, is he ordered the prosecution to destroy their copies. He kept copies, and he's going to review them in chambers or in camera. And one of two things will happen. Either the defense is right, and those are privileged materials, in which case they will not go to the prosecution, or the prosecution is right, and they have nothing to do with the legal case, and the government will get copies. It's only 20 pages. I don't think it'll take the judge that long, but I think the media is reporting this as some huge win for the defense because the government has to destroy their copies. They may get copies of those documents in a matter of days. So I think it's premature to say that this is any type of victory for sure.
Law to help victims of child sex abuse who miss legal deadlines to sue their abusers. The Adult Survivors Act will give those victims a second chance to file lawsuits. It provides a one-year window in which the state's usual statute of limitations for civil lawsuits will be set aside. The bill received final approval on Monday from the New York State lawmakers. It's modeled after the state's now expired Child Victim Act, which
group Danity Kane that Combs helped to form claimed that Combs had asked her to sign an NDA in exchange for the group's publishing rights. Now, as she said on the podcast, only stands, quote, I have to release him for any claims or wrongdoings or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music, or EMI, or Sony ever in public. She also said in another interview in 2022 that she was fired from the group by Combs because she wasn't willing to do what was expected of her, not talent-wise, but in other areas. And also, since the raid,
it's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie with the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand, whether it's some about the music, clothing, movies. They're not gonna come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them, and they praying that they not on the tape doing crazy stuff, being oiled up in the whole 9 yards. They praying. So until the feds say, hey, yo, listen here. We got you on, hey, buddy, we got you on this tape, and girl looked like she was pretty young. We're not gonna show it, but we need you to come and testify against Brother Love, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, you know, Sean Combs. That's when they're gonna start talking. And they're not gonna be talking in his favor. When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, TD Jakes, he hasn't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man didn't led them probably, allegedly, probably led them to damnation because those people's hearts are going to be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you, they're a little loose, bruh. They let down all their inhibitions. The music is pumping. He said it himself. He got it so hot in there that you gotta take your clothes off. He said that himself, bruh.
Stay tuned as we continue to peel back the layers of this complex case, where every new development adds fuel to the fire, and every revelation brings us closer to understanding the true cost of power gone awry. If you want to stay ahead of every explosive update in this high-stakes battle, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. The truth is on its way, and you won't want to miss a beat.
Legal experts believe the challenges ahead for both the defense and prosecution are enormous. Diddy's legal team must not only fight against years of allegations and damaging public narratives, but also address the visible emotional and physical decline many people claim they have observed in recent court appearances. At the same time,